Tuesday, September 27th, 2016 meeting of the Tilton Planning Board. First order of business is to review the August 9th minutes. I think you have a copy of those.
I've reviewed them already.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of August 9th, 2016 as written.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
One abstention. And I want to say, I think you did a good job condensing
No,
that.
thank you.
Okay, and
A lot to listen to.
at the next order of business is Planning Board Case 1607 and Planning Board Case 1608. And those are the site plan reviews for the continuation of the subdivision, and then the site plan review and conditional use permit for the Barbudo case. And I think everybody's been made pretty much aware of that. I'm gonna have Dari bring us up to date on it, and then we'll entertain a motion to continue those two cases. Would you like to?
Oh, sure, yeah, thank you. I think I've spoken individually with each of you, but just to bring it, we can talk about it as a group. We originally looked at the possibility, so as you know, it came up at the last meeting that there was no site plan on file for the existing business. After that meeting, we started to look into the possibility of giving them a grandfathered status, saying that the town has had multiple times to recognize this and hasn't, so could we possibly say it's as much our fault as it is theirs, and consider the business grandfathered. And in doing that research, I contacted a lawyer at New Hampshire Municipal Association and was advised not to go that direction. He said, it's a requirement, it was a requirement at the time, why are you looking for ways to avoid that requirement? Why not have them come in and do a site plan? And I said, well, the reason would be because they're afraid if it gets denied that their livelihood for the past 25 years, they have to pick up and move out. And he said, that's probably not going to happen. Why would the planning board deny the case? Is there, are there variances needed? And I said, they've got all the variances they need. So he said, so that's really a sort of probably not a very realistic fear. So we contacted the Barbudos and said, we want you to do a site plan. And so they're going to submit. They've already begun. Actually, I have what I need to notice on the 11th. In addition to these two cases, there will be a third case. We could call it like phase 1 or something of the Tilton trailer rental, which is the existing business. And so the plan is, again, next meeting, October 11th, for them to come and get approval or seek approval for their existing business, the expansion, and of course the subdivision that's going to allow for the expansion. That's about it.
Any comments or on that? I know his concern, and I had spoken to him one time because he was calling around because he had some real concerns about what happened at the meeting. I assured him we were not trying to put him out of business. That was not our intention. That we did not want to do anything to either harm the town or hopefully harm his business. And our concern too was that we didn't want to do anything illegal that would impact the planning board, the town, or Mr. Barbudo. So he seemed satisfied with that, which I think is why he probably went ahead with the site plan.
Great.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Quickly on that, I do have a business relationship with them. They give us a in-kind donation of a storage trailer every month for the school. So think about that this week, and next time we meet, if you feel I should recuse, let me know. But delve that over in your minds. Thanks for mentioning.
And I think, as I said before, we've had a lot of different dealings with them because they've been very generous to the community.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, I'll entertain a motion to, let's take them case by case. First, planning board case 16-08, continue it. And, are we continuing it to the next meeting?
October 11th, yeah.
Okay, to October 11th?
I'll make a motion to continue planning board case 1607 to October 11th, 2016.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Make a motion to continue planning board case 1608 to planning board meeting October 11th, 2016.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, that was 08 and 09, right? Because the second time, I know.
No, I think it's 07 and 08.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
09
07,
is
I mean,
this
that's what I
gentleman.
meant,
Yeah,
07
yeah,
and 08,
right.
okay. All right. Those two things are done, and our next order of business is a site plan review for planning board case 16-09. It's a proposal to construct and operate a drive-through coffee shop and an eat-in restaurant at 120 Laconia Road in the Regional Commercial District, R20-3. And I think you have in front of you an application. All right, so if planning board will review the application.
Where's the best place to set up an easel for everyone? Over here? That would be ideal if you don't mind. No, that's okay. I've seen it all. Chairman? If I could just make a brief comment. In reviewing the checklist, I noticed that proposed exterior lighting was checked off as NA, but I found in reviewing the materials that there was information about proposed exterior lighting. Similarly, a location width, curving of proposed streets, location width and curving of proposed driveways, they're checked off as non-applicable because they're not like streets, you know, like town road type streets
Yeah.
or driveways that would need a DOT permit. But in fact, that type of information is on the plans.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mhm.
We got site planner as COROC, and we got signed by AVP Construction, I got agent Laurel Group.
We do, I do have owner authorization materials, I just didn't put them in, I wanna make you guys print copies of that.
Under additional required subdivision or site plan, there are things like letter from Tilton Northfield Fire, are those covered under
Well,
Tanger Outlet itself?
I guess, no, not necessarily, but my thought would be to, you know, if those are the only elements that the planning board has concerns about, perhaps to, you know, ask the applicant where they stand with checking in with those departments.
Okay. because are applicable.
Right.
Checked off as not applicable.
Yeah, I think in part is under that subdivision that we need to address.
All right, any other comments? Just make sure we check those areas when it comes to, make sure that those aren't taken care of.
So make a motion to accept this subdivision site plan approval with the exterior lighting and the letters as applicable and not applicable, along with owner authorization information.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you for being patient with us.
Sure. So my name is Dan Peverero, I'm the civil consultant for Tanger. I'm sure you're all familiar with the existing Tanger site. We're seeking site plan approval for about a 4,400 square foot building to be split between a Starbucks and a Five Guys restaurant located next to the pizzeria that's there currently. Pardon me. Excuse me, sorry. I picked up a cough recently. I can't do the
See what we
shaking.
do, Michael?
New Hampshire.
When do you get through with us?
I apologize for that. So the Starbucks has a drive-through. The drive-through window is located over here, and it has a dedicated queuing lane with 8 vehicles storage capacity. The order board, the menu, and the actual order board are located over here. So that's where you would place your order, you drive up, pick it up over here, and go on your way. There's outdoor seating that we're providing for both the Five Guys and the Starbucks, so when you're out at the site and you want to pick up coffee and sit down, enjoy your coffee, and then go out and do your shopping. We're providing 2 trash enclosures, one for each tenant, located behind the building, so you're not really going to be able to see it from the street. They're masonry block, so they'll look nice. We're proposing landscaping all throughout here. There's actually a 3.7% decrease in impervious area, so there's, I don't want to say a positive impact to stormwater, but there is no negative impact. There's going to be less stormwater in proposed conditions than in existing conditions. There's room over here at the entrance. The way that it was constructed originally is a little bit wider than is necessary. There's actually enough room here for 2 lanes, which is a little bit confusing because in existing conditions, there's an island right here that sort of juts into your lane as you're coming in. So we utilized that additional width to add a right turn lane over here so people can enter the Five Guys Starbucks area and the Pizzeria Uno area directly in their own dedicated lane, or go into the straight through lane and continue on. The loading for Starbucks and Five Guys is located behind the building here with a pull-through. The loading will happen off hours, so there's really no concern with drive-through queue or anything like that. We'll pull in here and then just pull out. That's really pretty much it. Any questions?
There's no building in now, right?
No, currently,
Isn't there a Starbucks in there?
there is a Starbucks, but it's
That was my
located,
question. What?
the Starbucks is currently located all the way
In the corner?
right. So this is what it looks like existing. There's
Okay.
parking over here, a couple of end islands.
So is it that Starbucks that's moving over there?
Yes,
Oh.
so that Starbucks, if
So then now they vacant.
familiar with it, it's sort of
Yeah,
all the way in the
a lot of
corner,
parking.
so
In the corner.
generally, people are lazy. And if you're over here doing your shopping, and you look at the Starbucks all the way on the other end, a lot of people are just gonna say, I'm gonna go home and have a coffee. So they're moving the Starbucks over here, it also gives them the opportunity to put a drive-through on it, so it's a little more added convenience.
So the lighting?
Yes, the lighting on the building is, actually got a sheet here. It's gooseneck lighting with about 100-watt equivalent LED. So they're on the outside of the building. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side of the building. So it's really not too much impact. They have this exhibit here that shows the photometrics.
What
This
the
is
hours?
just the hours. They're still working through the lease, but typically the Starbucks is like 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and the Five Guys is I think 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
What about the noise level from the drive-through?
The drive-through's pointed out into the center, so there really shouldn't be any impact on any neighbors. It's pretty far away from everyone. There's a road between the drive-through and the building, really, between the drive-through and across the street and the whole center behind this way, so there really shouldn't be any impacts to anyone. Just a note on this lighting here. These are the photometrics of just the building lights. The existing lights are from many, many years ago. So there are no there is no photometric data available for those lights. So it's very difficult to model them. So you can, looking at this, look at the levels and just see the existing lighting's going to be there, plus these levels, and you see once you go out, 30 feet from the building, you're pretty low. These are really to light the sidewalk and the area around the building.
Can they come in, foot traffic come in where those tables are?
No, there's a fence that runs here and around, and similarly here. So foot traffic, the front doors are here and here. Foot traffic will have to be either through here, or there's a sidewalk that comes up here. If somebody is parked over here, they can make their way along this sidewalk.
So they can come, it's just that stop right there, they kind of walk across into there.
Yeah, this fence is here really to, don't want people parked over here, walking over this way, so this sort of incentivizes people to park where you want them to, over here and here. Once you start going over here, you're just as far away as, parking over there, except there's no fence in your way.
What's the seating capacity in the Five Guys inside?
Five Guys. We have our parking analysis on sheet C1.1. And the Five Guys has 45 seats and Starbucks is 35.
All right.
And we obviously probably have plenty of parking spots.
Yeah, we are overparked by almost 200 stalls center-wise.
What is the standard for parking in that mall?
It's different between restaurants and retail space. Restaurants are 1 per 2 seat plus 1 per employee, and retail's 1 space per 300 square feet plus 1 space for each 5 employees. And then there's also an office space that Tanger mall offices, and that's broken up separately, which is at 1 per 200 square feet.
And then there's 2 handicap spots close by, is that
Yes.
meet requirements?
They gotta cross 2 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, that's why I asked if you could go in there.
But these are the closest,
You gotta go
the closest stalls, which obligated to put the stalls at the closest, really the closest stalls that work. And these are the closest stalls that work. There aren't any better stalls.
Does 2 meet the requirements? Is 2 enough for those 2?
It's the whole,
Yeah, it's the whole.
Yeah,
it's the whole complex that is.
Yeah.
The whole shopping center is required to have 23 stalls, and there are 38.
A lot of traffic there. It just seems like it's a cluster.
Dangerous place.
It's, that whole, because
Just this
your
entrance
right
here
turn lane
is-
is really favoring people turning right into the center because that map cuts it off. But if you look at this, the way you have it designed, I'm just not comfortable with that. You're putting an additional stop sign in on the main driveway for people coming out, but people coming in, the people pulling out of the drive-through, are they, I don't know.
This, we were looking at this extensively, and my feeling on it is that there's enough room for 2 lanes, and if there is enough room for 2 lanes and it's unmarked, that's where you get confusion in drivers. You get people pulling up next to each other, one person thinks there's 1 lane, the other guy thinks that there's 2 because it's wide enough, and that's when it gets confusing for drivers. If it's marked out properly.
I think it's more confusing now because what about the guy coming out of Starbucks? Does he have the right of way if he's got to jut across 3 lanes to get out of there?
Yeah, he has a stop.
Right, but he
And
still
this-
has to come across 3 lanes, I mean.
Right, and we did look at that. We're adding a stop for this movement and for this movement here. So when you look at it, the only person who has a through movement is coming in off the street.
Yeah, but
Stop
now if
or
I'm
either.
coming out of the mall, I gotta look left, now I gotta look left again, even more left, because I gotta see if there's a guy coming out of the drive-through of Starbucks.
Or you just look to your left straight through and you see both of them from going this way. When you're in the Starbucks, you're stopped, and you look here, you actually have very good visibility going straight, seeing people come in, and this stop bar was intentionally pulled ahead of you as you're leaving the drive-through so that you can see this guy, he'll be stopped, and then you can move. And there is room for about, a car or 2 here so that you don't have people blocking up the drive-through, picking up their stuff, and, this guy has time, once he picks up his drink, to pull up here and find a gap and continue on.
I think you're underestimating the traffic because we're out on Route 3 every weekend with it already backed up there. You have it from the left-hand side down by Irving all the way down every weekend.
And the left turn lane into that outlet is
Horrendous.
inadequate as it is right now.
Yeah.
And and there's other coffee facilities in this area that have a drive-through and they back up amazingly at their drive-throughs, and it just creates.
If this drive-through did back up, which isn't anticipated, it's 8
But I'm
car
worried
queue,
about
which is
people. I'm
okay.
worried about people coming across here, creating accidents, creating another burden on our town services. And,
The people coming in over here, sorry to interrupt.
well, I'm concerned about people coming out of the drive-through are creating. It's like a, I don't know, 5-way intersection. I mean, it's weird. It's.
Should they come out the other?
The people making the left from the light,
Well,
actually
yeah.
it creates, because my office has been here 3 or 4 times now, and sat here and watched the traffic through here and to gauge how exactly the light
Did you
is
sit
set.
there on a weekend?
Yeah. And the traffic light left in actually
Was it a
creates.
rainy weekend of the summer?
I'm not sure.
Well, it makes a difference.
The left in here, the light creates a gap for you. The people come in on the left, you get the left arrow in, you get your whole caravan of cars coming through from the left light. That changes, you no longer have the people making the left, and you have a natural gap that lasts. I mean, there are cars making the right in, but it seems like the left in is the primary vehicle into the site. And once that light changes, you get a significant change in number of vehicles entering here. And that light's only, 30 seconds or something like that. I think it's even less. So you're sitting here for a few seconds waiting for that light to change, and then you pull out.
Well, then you got people coming from across the street that go across there too, from BJ's. They come across that light and go across there.
Right, when the light goes green this way, but when it's green on Laconia and you don't have the left turn, the traffic in is, you only have the people making the right in, and they're not queued up because there is no light. So you get, gaps just like you're crossing any other intersection.
I don't like the way it's set up. When I saw it, because I only saw that, I was hoping it was going to be to the right of those, maybe it would make more sense to me. But
I don't think there's space there.
Yeah, because of the way that this property line goes, you start running out of room behind the UNOs without, really reconfiguring this parking, and then, So if this, you don't really anticipate this drive-through backing up too much because there are 8
I'm
cars
not
in
worried
the
about that, I'm
queue,
worried
so-
about the people leaving
Right.
Starbucks into a weird intersection that is just gonna potentially put a burden on our town services. The police are gonna have to respond to accidents and safety, I mean, it's just a safety.
Do you have any statistics? Is there another Starbucks drive-through situated like this in a parking mall? I mean, in a shopping mall?
I'm sure that there is, I don't have any off the top of my head. I know, I've seen layouts like this before, I don't know exactly where.
Salem, Mall in Salem, I don't know.
Or any drive-through that's similar.
I have not seen, I'm familiar with the area, I haven't seen a lot of backup going in there. I've seen more backup going into Home Depot and not going into the mall. And I go there fairly frequently.
I used to work there, it's horrendous on the weekends. Took you 4 or 5 lights to turn that left.
Can they change the light setup? I know they've worked, the police has they worked on this light setup so that it moves fairly quickly through there. I personally haven't seen it. They say I've seen it down at Irving, but
Did you have to go to DOT with this?
No. We're not making any changes to the curb cut here, everything's staying pretty much the same.
But
We're
you're
not
adding more
stopping.
business?
You're adding more business in
They
here.
communicated with DOT.
Right.
Yeah, they have checked with DOT.
The business
aware.
from these, from this building, comparative to the overall shopping center is, percentage points, it's very little, compared to the overall center.
If you've seen a Five Guys and a Starbucks, which you have, you know that's not accurate.
Well,
Those will be
it's-
the 2 most popular places in the mall.
When you're comparing the, the mall has, I don't know exactly square footage, but a lot of retail square footage. This, in addition to that, is really not that much more.
243,000 square feet.
Yes.
Could you go back to the parking and tell me again what you have
Sure. No,
and what was originally approved?
Right now, we're providing 1,232 stalls. We're required 1,048, and we lost 51 stalls due to this
But what was your original site plan? How many did you originally have?
51 more than,
No.
1, 2, 3, 2?
right.
No, when you opened your original site plan, how many parking spots did it have? Because the whole thing was restriped and all the spots were made smaller when Old Navy went in. The width of every parking lot was.
Okay, I don't have the
parking
number
spot.
of the original, I'm not sure.
Because that never came before us either to change that parking. And my other concern is there's craft fairs here every weekend. That's taking up a huge portion of the parking, or multiple weekends, not every weekend. So I have some concerns on the parking. And just over from there and behind is typically then the snow storage.
I don't know, just going back to the size of the stalls, per our survey, the stalls are compliant with the size of the town code, I think 9 by 19. So I don't know if the town code changed at some point, and or if they were for some reason struck larger than town code previously, I don't know. But they are, per the survey, compliant at the size that's currently there.
That's something I wanna look up, Darren.
I know what you're talking about, because you look at the parking lot, you can see where it was striped, and then they blacked out at certain spaces.
Prior to the new seal building.
Well, I think they paid.
You want
I
the
think they paid-
planning stuff?
Yeah, I'm curious what the
Okay.
original all was, because I think there
Eric, do you think the safety would be increased
Well,
if
the
they put the
concern now is it's
Starbucks on the
compliant
driver's
with the
side?
current.
Well, they have to, the drive-through has to be on the,
The concern now is it's in compliance with the current
the window
Because
from the
then-
driver's side.
and you say that it is.
Right. It is, they are 9 by 19.
So they'd still,
Per the survey.
Yeah.
One under the other, but.
We're what I'm saying is at
How
some
about
point they
from
would
something
change
beyond,
without
yeah,
our
right,
knowledge.
so
Can't rotate that.
It's just like, this is it for a while.
Isn't it
No,
take a little
it
while?
wouldn't matter.
I don't know if you
I wouldn't
take
think
a-
so, but.
I don't understand why that would matter, as long as you're in
So-
compliance
So
with.
if they came in here, like,
Because if
Eric,
you're changing
couldn't they go like, oh, that's your
parking
password.
without conforming to
Okay, they
town.
have to go this way.
What about if they, even if they just came out and
Is that what other
Well, I guess what she's saying
We
is,
can suggest
you know, if
that.
they were approved
This
to
is
lay out their
where we
parking a
go.
certain way,
Ask to see if they-
and they changed
Search
it,
that.
you know, I suppose depending on how much they change it and what way they change it, that could put them out of compliance with their approval. So I mean. that
But I
could-
guess my question is, if the town changes their requirements and changes the size, isn't what our concern should be is if they're in compliance with the size of our lots, our parking spaces?
To me, that would seem like the the main concern,
So you just wanna let
the
them do
most
what they want, so
relevant.
there's no sense in me
Well,
looking at this, because
no,
they've
no,
already
we
not
need-
stayed in compliance over the years.
I mean, again, I think, you know, if Ms. Tilton is looking to see if
I'm all set.
they've fallen out
You
of
guys are gonna do it
compliance with an
anyways.
approval,
No, I'd like to understand the reasoning,
yeah, I don't,
that's what I would like to understand, I don't think it's them doing whatever they want, I see it being in compliance with what our ordinances are now.
Okay, that's fine.
As long as they're in compliance. What if they
well, I
went
mean,
bigger?
it's possible that we can look through those files and discover that they've done something to really, you know, bring themselves out of compliance with site plan approval, and then we'd be looking at a situation very similar to a situation this board's looked at very recently, where somebody, you know, doesn't have proper permission for the existing portion of the business, and when they're looking to expand. To me, you know, if a planning board member feels that's something that needs to be looked at, I don't think that member should be discouraged.
I don't
and-
either.
Yeah,
I'm not
Um,
trying to, I'm just wanting
right.
to
No, I know.
understand
I won't-
the reasoning.
yeah,
Carry on.
No, I want us to pursue this. Do you know when we got your initial approval?
I do not. And it will take hours to go through this.
The,
so.
well, let's maybe, rather than opening up the files, let's see what, if I could ask some questions. Do you think it's possible that they've reduced the number of spaces from what was approved? Or increased the number of spaces, or just, we don't
I
know?
don't think they currently have enough spaces for what they were originally approved to do. And they keep using extra spaces every time they have events there. They take away spaces each time. Now we have people parking
Right, so like
up
the
on
craft
the
fairs.
back road on Sanborn. There are people parking up on Sanborn during events.
And did I hear correctly that you said you don't think they're providing as many spaces as they
Should
originally
were
agreed
supposed
to? I guess, the question is, the applicant has demonstrated for the entire facility that there is adequate parking, and he's on record here saying that those spaces are in compliance with the zoning ordinance. They measure the 9 by 19. While it may be true that it's possible that they've fallen out of compliance with the particular technicality of one of their past approvals, perhaps the board should take some time to decide whether that needs to be researched by looking through the folders, or whether, you know, it's something that could be sort of addressed through just a discussion of whether what's being proposed here is sufficient. And even if it is a slight, you know, even if there was a slight deviation from what was approved at some point, you know, we do have, through our change of use form, we do allow some change of use, some changes without additional site plan approval. So maybe, you know, maybe that's the case here, I don't know.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is that the comment was made that the spaces are now smaller than they were originally, which would indicate to me that rather than reduce the number of spaces, they probably increased them.
No, because they put a navy in. They did that, when
Right,
they
I
put a
mean,
navy in.
other
So they-
changes, so.
But I would think that Old Navy would have come in when they
No,
when
that
they
was-
went
They were
in.
part of the original site plan.
No, Old Navy got approved under its own set of plans, I believe. I think I have those plans.
I think that may be
Uno's would have been
true.
approved under its own set of plans too. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Uno is definitely
Well,
was.
I was on the board then.
Almost certain that Old Navy was as well, through the planning board site plan approval process.
But I think what Judy, just to reflect on a little bit, what Judy was talking about, when they have the craft fair in particular, and I just did some rough estimation of what they do, and they take away approximately 58 spaces when they hold those events, just based on having been to those events. And
They take that whole corner by Starbucks.
yeah, well, they take out, I went like halfway
So
down.
that's
and-
over the 51.
So I haven't seen that event, so I can't say,
No, I
but
mean-
we are,
They used to do a farmer's market too, but they don't do that anymore, but they do have, but I think it's just a craft fair there a couple times a year.
we are providing
51.
almost 200, like 185 more stalls than it is required.
Right, so.
So if they're taking out 51, even if you were to permanently eliminate them with this new proposal, they would still be in compliance with the town requirements.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just unscientifically
No, that's good, that's.
doing
yes.
a little, using some landmarks on here, because your eyes go cross-eyed, looking at all the lines.
And of course, Tanger is in approval of this application, so that would imply that, you know, they would, if they are understanding that this is gonna impact their parking, and that may impact their craft fairs, but apparently if it's 58 spots, it sounds like it's okay anyway.
Well, that's just for that, I mean, how many, they currently have, how many spaces do they have currently, as it stands today?
Approximately 1,285, some about
Right,
that.
so, and then that's, and you're taking out 50, whatever you said, 51.
Right, down to 1232.
So I see the craft fair issue as separate from this application. You know, I think it's something we might need to keep an eye on in the future, but I don't see that as impacting this. And I think we may need to take a look at what was approved initially and make sure that we have that number. But if there are 1,200 spaces in there, does it make sense to you that there would ever be more than that required
Oh,
for the initial approval?
oh, I don't know. You mean that potentially the requirements
Yeah.
were greater?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about this when these gentlemen first visited. I can't recall the answer. I mean, yeah, I don't remember. I'm sorry. To me, I mean, really, you know, we've got a completed plan here that does show a compliant parking scheme for the
With the
entire
current
facility.
code.
Right. And if it does represent a deviation from previous approval, and this board feels it wasn't done, you know, sort of underhandedly, this represents an ideal opportunity to have the board vote as to whether this present configuration is acceptable.
Okay. Comments?
Well, Eric has
Yeah, I
something on the
think
the safety thing, if you want to take that
Oh,
one down. For the time.
Road.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do it, but is there a way to move the drive-through to the back of the building and reconfigure?
We
I
looked
mean, over
into
there.
several different layouts for this. The main issue, if you put the drive-through on the back of the building, you have to loop the cars so that it's driver's side pickup. So, really the best way to lay that out is to take this, loop it up this way, and bring it out over here, which gives you enough queue, and allows you to pick up. The issue with that is that the 9th car on this stack comes out into this, back drive aisle. The 10th car goes into this drive aisle. There are major impacts to the center. If you can envision sort of what I'm drawing up here with the entrance, the drive-through being here and looping down to pick up your stuff here, the 9th car goes into the main drive aisle. So while you don't really anticipate overflows, a catastrophic event like a car blocking the main drive aisle is something that you generally try to avoid at all costs, because that would be sort of, you start blocking up traffic over here while somebody's waiting in line. The person who's waiting in line isn't going to yield because people never do, and you end up with traffic out onto the road.
I would think that would cause more safety issues than the one you have here.
That's why we ended up with this, because when you start having people back up into the main drive, not only is it an issue where the traffic is interacting with the stop car on the main drive, once you have a car whose rear end is sticking out into the roadway, then you start getting into, when you never want to design around severity of accidents, but, if there were an accident here, it's going to be somebody going 5 miles an hour in a parking lot. If there is one with somebody whose rear end is sticking out into the road, it's somebody who's going significantly faster than that.
And the bulk of your walking traffic is in the rear anyway, and back where you would be directing the traffic. And I think that's where there would be a severe safety hazard, was the people walking from their cars to the stores or whatever.
Right, so that's, all of these issues, that we had looked into several different iterations of this plan trying to accommodate, all of these thoughts. And this is the best layout that we came up with.
Are you saying the back end will be out on Laconia Road?
If,
I mean, they're starting way over here.
No.
if you loop your drive through here and there's a car sticking out in this main drive,
Okay,
over
there.
you get your left turn lane and left turn signal in here, you get your 10 cars and you're backed up over into.
Well, I'm trying to get people to that bottleneck there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to move that bottleneck somewhere else. And if you turn the drive-through and they're exiting further up the driveway, is what I'm trying to do. I mean, even if you could make it so that, design it so that they can only turn left and they have to go around the building to exit out at the top and come down that driveway. I'm overly concerned about that
One section.
section. And I don't know this, I'm grasping at straws here.
Do you have any traffic studies for that?
No, we didn't get any traffic studies done, so sorry, I'm just sort of
We're all thinking,
digesting.
yeah.
So
On the fly.
if there were a sign here directing traffic left, that would mitigate.
Even if you just put like a curb that forces people to go left,
Right,
or even the center curb, because I know there's a curb, and I don't know how far you can extend that down, but extend that so people can't cut through. And you can only turn right into that section where it says stop in front of Starbucks. You can only turn right in there, and then to exit, you have to exit up at the top where it says stop. I mean, I've already driven that far, I'm thinking the drive-through traffic. I've already driven that far off the road to get my coffee, to go loop around the building. I don't see that as being a hardship. And now you're flowing everything a little bit better, and you're taking out that bottleneck. Because you got people that are gonna be coming in from Laconia Road, they're gonna wanna go straight, they're gonna wanna go, people coming in from the left turn are gonna wanna go right, and now you're gonna have to worry about people coming, I just,
It's a good suggestion.
that's something I can definitely look into.
I don't, I'm just.
Do you understand what he's talking
Yep.
about?
Yeah,
Anything
I
else?
think I got that.
Well, that's my.
My concern, and again, is having the fire, make sure the fire district approves the ability to get in and out of that area.
Yeah, they do have our plans.
Well, we need to see a letter from them.
Okay.
they're used to the letter,
Yeah.
they know what it is,
Okay.
okay? And, you're hooking up to the existing water?
Yes.
and sewer?
Rear. There's an existing water line that runs sort of along the property line and then goes to the Old Navy, and we're in talks with the water company to connect the water lines for the building to that, and then sewer. We made our submission to the sewer commission for the grease trap and the connection to the sewer line, which was over
Okay, we need to see something positive showing that you've done that.
here. Okay, submitted
The
or?
water and,
Okay, and it's something
well,
positive?
I mean, we wanna make sure that they were notified
Okay,
And approve.
and approved.
I have talked to Johanna, she indicated that they're underway.
Okay,
And of course, planning board approvals cannot be held up based on
yeah,
approvals from other agencies. They can be a condition, but they can't.
well, that's what I wouldn't
Okay.
hold it up because of that,
Right.
make it a condition.
Which way is the pitch of the roof? Is it side? I don't remember, I saw where's the stormwater running off that building to? Is it going contained into an underground system, or is it?
it is getting connected.
I think you made the comment that the stormwater, the drainage would be improved by the,
The overall drainage
Yeah.
is improved, there's less impervious, that's
Impervious.
3.7% less, so the roof pitches, I believe, primarily to the rear. There's a connection right there.
right there, your picture's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't really show the roof. We have the sort of like a peak here, but then behind that is a flat area where you have the RTUs and condensers and all that kind of stuff. But this is the building. I don't know how familiar you are with the Old Navy, but this complements the Old Navy building pretty well, I think. Similar style. Not so much the Pizzeria Uno, but that style I don't think really conveys what. I think if they were to build the Pizzeria Uno today, it would probably look a little bit different, probably a little closer to this. But the color scheme on this is a little bit closer to the Pizzeria Uno, so it sort of architecturally looks like the Old Navy, but color-wise looks a little bit closer to the Pizzeria Uno, so it's not, it'll kind of blend in.
We want swatches.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm not kidding about that.
Field tier.
What is does the water drain onto the pavement, or is it gonna go underground? Like the water from the roof, where's it gonna drain?
It gets connected to the overall system via an underground roof drain connection. The drainage system is primarily unchanged. There is a slight change with this line here connected to this catch basin and this catch basin. So this pipe is getting a little bit closer to the building, so we just sort of rerouted it slightly.
And is there just one catch basin on the drive-through lane here, at the corner of the building?
Yeah, and then another one at the back. Basically, right back in the center of the building.
Well, yeah, but that's only for the truck, I'm talking about for drive-through traffic.
Oh, yeah, the drive-through, we were able to grade it such that it flows out similar to what is happening currently, except over here we had a little bit of water getting trapped. That typically happens when you have a drive-through window because it's an artificially set point that's close to the doors, and you end up with a point that you can't really grade very well. So very often with drive-throughs, you end up with a pickup in that location. Other than that, the water, there's very little difference than existing grading conditions. If you look at like this 494 contour does that, and this is our proposed 494, so it's getting moved slightly, adjusted for all the landscape islands that we're putting in, but generally the flow direction remains pretty much the same. The water's going to end up where it's currently ending up, more or less, and less of it.
And the storm drains will have below water separators.
The storm drains?
Yeah, the catch basins, or they're going into that existing system, never mind.
There is a grease interceptor for the restaurants.
No, I'm talking
But
about
as far as-
for stormwater coming off the water in the drive-through lane.
No, we're not proposing any grease interceptors for that.
It's going into the current drainage.
So there's
for-
there's oil water
Yeah.
separators on the current.
Do you have a maintenance plan for the current?
The current grease interceptors, I don't have a copy of that. I'm not sure if the town does. I don't know. We may have it in the slide.
Anything else? You? All right. Conditions? Anybody wanna make a motion to approve and then we'll go through the conditions?
Well, did you say you were gonna do the chain of safety, or you were just gonna look into it, or what are you writing it down?
I'm not sure I can say that with certainty that I would restrict that left-hand turn. I think I'd have to look into that a little bit further.
I mean, it seems like there, obviously, one option would be to continue the case and allow time to research, allow Mr. Cabrera to see if that's a doable thing. The other consideration would be to, the board's asked some good questions, looked relatively in-depth into it. The responses have been that, there was fairly considerable thought given by trained engineers and professionals to come up with the best scheme that they feel confident about. And there could, sort of say, we've talked about it, we've looked at it, they've done the best they possibly could, and go that route. Those are two options I see right off. Or I suppose there might be a way to create a condition. I guess I'd need help from the board on this one, I'm brainstorming right now. Maybe to create a condition that allows for some further, something on that without holding up, a decision tonight. I don't know exactly how that.
Condition to say whether it would work or not,
What's that?
like a condition to say whether it would even work or not, if you extended that out.
So, I guess, like saying, approved, the condition that, or approved, with the condition that, I don't know, but an analysis be conducted of comparing what's proposed and what Eric has proposed.
Well,
And, his results be shared with the town, and that we can.
none of us is a civil engineer, so.
No.
But their
And-
civil
But
engineers
it's
work
safety.
for the outlet, they don't work for the town, our responsibility is the safety of the town.
But I think that, I would certainly think your civil engineers design based on safety, that's, I think.
It is one of the three things that
Yeah.
I have, by law and ethics, have to uphold.
How do other people feel? Eric, I know you don't wanna do anything unless we change the routing of the,
Is that true?
Well, I would like to see it explored. I just think this is gonna become a burden, I think, if you get
I-
a busy day, you're gonna get in, I wanna look at all the options and.
I would like to see it get approved, but with the flexibility of having the option of going with Eric's plan if you vet it out, and that might be a better.
And they can go back and, no.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I
that's not correct, and it's
I know, but
what-
Where's
I
the-
would think that they would want the best scenario for that flow.
But I don't think, you have engineers based somewhere in America that are looking at this, and we're residents of the town of Tilton, and we understand, you know, I think we looked at a project another project that had light spillage, even though the plant, the scoping, whatever you wanna call it, the digital imagery didn't show it. But when they flipped the lights on, it turned out to be a bigger problem than we anticipated. So I want to avoid this situation where we're gonna have an issue here that becomes dangerous. You know, it's only going to get busier. You know, I think it's, you know, you look at different places, I mean, you know, there's another fast food restaurant, they put 2 drive-throughs in, they still get backups. You know, even though they put 2 drive-through order lanes in, they still get backups. You know,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
here, it's only, you know, more people find out, oh, there's, you know, there's a lot of people like Starbucks. And they're gonna come from all over because, ooh, now it's gonna drive through, so now, hey honey, it's Saturday morning, you know, can you go get the whole house, you know, summer people, can you go get the whole house some, you know, 10 coffees? And now you're gonna have to deal with an increase of traffic. And I'm concerned about what that's gonna do in that area.
I do understand your concern, and in no way am I trying to dissuade.
I think
but if
overall
there
it's a
is
great
one-
idea,
Yeah.
but if there's somehow, if we can look at making them only go left, and go back around the building and it's just, you got a lot going on right there. You got people turning right that are trying to move left, you got people that are coming in from the left that wanna go right. And now you got people coming at you, you got people cutting across,
I would just like to say that if there is anyone that is just as interested in the safety of this plan as the board, it's me. You know, it's my design. I do take that very seriously. So I definitely wouldn't just take a suggestion or a condition that we look into it and just say, you know, you got him again. You know, I would definitely take it into you know, under consideration very much. I just am a little hesitant to do it, you know, on my feet right now and say, oh yeah, it's a great idea, and then get back to my office tomorrow, start going in CAD, hammer it out, and be like, that's why we couldn't do this. And then we're stuck with, you know, a thing, and it's approved, and then what do we do?
Well, why don't we continue it until our next planning board meeting? You go back to the office and look into that and come back.
Sure.
Is everybody in
I would
agreement
feel
to
better.
that?
I guess that's the only thing to do.
yeah, but I don't know, can you move the actual buildings back? You know, physically, can you move the buildings backwards just a little bit? I mean, I don't know, I'm just looking at, I don't know.
The, one question, I mean,
Well,
is it
this-
8 cars that you guys have
So there's more.
provided? Are we, we're not dealing with the queuing right now,
No.
we're dealing with the actual leads.
It's just
Yeah.
that one corner there.
But what about if you move the building physically backwards?
And that'd be away from
Yeah,
the
just move
bottleneck.
it. I'm just looking at, you know,
Put it in
Yeah.
another bottleneck, I think.
So you're saying that the person who wants to come out of here and turn has to go through,
well,
You got that.
well, then you got the person
Come
coming
back.
out of the drive-through lane, sorry. The actual
And
drive-through
drive-through
lane.
lane coming towards us.
where's that, right here?
Yeah, so you gotta
So
come
it's
across
like-
there,
You're saying they have to go in here, turn, and then come out like that?
yeah. And if I'm exiting the mall, I gotta look left 2 different ways.
And this person has the right of way of this person? Is that right? They got a stop sign.
This guy, that's a stop sign, that's a stop sign, and that's a stop sign. So I believe that he would have the first right of way, then he would have second, he would have last.
So, can we just-
And then you have the
I
oncoming
know.
traffic this way.
Could be. I think you'd have.
So Eric was saying, go like this guy, right? And you only go that way. So then it's only 2 on that side.
No. I can imagine from a business standpoint, you know,
No one likes to make left turns, I get it, but
And it is, you know,
yeah, unless
we do have this extra space here where this is the right turn lane, so you aren't really, you're not facing traffic, you are a lane removed from it. So by the time you pull out here and start, you know, banking your car left, you're not that far off from this through movement as it is. But I understand the concern, and it's something that I can look into.
I just, every offended brother is gonna require someone to show up and do a police report, and
So that
now you're
means
gonna have a police
no one
person there all day. And I'm not saying there's been an accident there all the time, but,
You have Sandra policeman there, lady, what?
you know, I mean,
That'd be
even if
the
you
summer.
physically moved it backward, up on the map, and take it away,
One thought I have on the continuation is I know that this group has been working on this application. They've been in contact with Al and I on and off for over a month now. Coming from New York each time, as Mr. Peverero did this evening. And I guess, knowing the investment and knowing Al in particular, initially his first concern was traffic, so he immediately oriented their efforts toward addressing this matter. If this is the best they've come up with after that extensive effort, I do wonder if we may, how likely it is that 2 weeks from now, or I think it's 2 weeks from now, we'll be looking at an identical plan that shows again that same level of effort that's already been put in. That's my only sort of devil's advocate comment, I guess, on as you consider whether to continue. I'm certainly not saying not to. I'm just saying that it does seem that this plan has come as a result of quite a bit of thought on this.
As does every plan that comes in front of us, and it doesn't matter if they came from California, we have to treat them all the same way.
Right, I'm just saying knowing how much effort has been put in, I just wonder if 2 weeks, I don't think this is a result of them needing 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks they would have got the perfect plan. I feel like this is kind of what the best arrangement may be, but I don't know that for sure. Just again a thought.
Yeah, I guess if the engineer was here or something, he would be able to tell us right off the bat if it would work or not, but he's not here.
Aren't you the engineer?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I think she meant the
No,
traffic
I mean,
engineer.
saying to move back or whatever.
Or a traffic,
I thought you were just the cat, you said cat out loud, so.
No.
you're invisible.
It's tough room. Like I said, as Dory's saying, we did go through many iterations. This is what we came up with. I'm confident in it. I do understand, looking at it, the concern. And if the board wants me to go back and look at it further, I could certainly do that.
What do you think realistically the chances are that it's really gonna change from this? I mean, knowing what you know, just give us the lowdown on
Yeah,
what
you
you
did
really,
that.
what do you really think of that? Because if it is the safest, best route, and you have to go with it, then we should know that.
It's hard to say.
There's nothing to
if I sketch-
disqualify Eric's suggestions.
When I sketch this up and, see what this looks like, forcing people left, yeah,
See, my concern is you're gonna have more of a problem in the rear of the building because you're getting into a lot of foot traffic.
I think moving this back isn't necessarily going to work. You have this this area here is something that, you know, you wouldn't design today. A Y, there's a lot of asphalt in here, not really sure who's going where or why. And the closer you put this building to that, I think the worse you're gonna end up being. So I'm not necessarily thrilled with the idea of taking this, because you could pretty much only take this and move it back in chunks because of the existing parking layout. So if you take this and move it back to this chunk, you're introducing people who want to end up in the drive-through. They would end up coming through this Y.
Yeah, that, and see, that's my concern.
And it, like I said, this area, I've driven through it, I've driven through things that look like this. It's weird. You're not really sure what this person's doing. If they don't have their blinker on, they could be going anywhere. So I would be concerned with introducing more movements into this area here. So I'm not necessarily crazy about moving it backwards. In terms of doing some sort of hard changes here to prevent people from going right, that's something I could look into. At first blush, I'm not sure if it's really gonna, if there's enough room in here to do it. But it's definitely something that it's a lot easier once you start putting pen to paper and sketching things out. You see where things lie and the impacts of changing things. But at first blush, I think probably there's not enough fat in this island to put a directional island, like a change to get somebody to go left. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. So you pull this down and possibly work it out. I just need to see it and actually draw it out to see what would happen.
Another thought is that if you're sending, you've got someone who's very close to being out of the facility, and now the idea is to almost send them back in
Exactly.
and around. I know if that were me, my personality, I'd be like, "Ugh," you know, I almost would, it's almost inviting a little bit of reckless driving around here. You know, they got their car, but they wanted to get out of here, fine, I'll go around. That's just me, that's how I do it. Another thought.
Another thing, and this is just sort of me thinking off the top of my head here. But another thing would be, if you're directing everyone left here, all of your pedestrians, most of them, are walking in this area here, come up to this building. So for every car that comes into the drive-through, they have to pass the pedestrian area twice.
Yeah,
So you're sort of doubling the impact on the pedestrians up here.
which is where I think the danger, that to me is where the danger is.
Oh, but
Because once people get into the mall, unless they're backing up, that's where the accidents occur, is when people back up into the traffic that's coming around. It's,
right.
People walk everywhere in the mall, they don't just walk on the walk paths. That's,
but there's not much in this area for them to walk to, I guess that's my only,
If you're parked in this area
Yeah.
here, there's really not a good draw for you to cross the main aisle. Perhaps Old Navy, but their front door is on the other side. There's really not a great place for you to walk. There's this
No.
loading area. So,
But when you get the guy in the summer that's got his boat attached to his pickup truck, he's making that right turn, and then you got someone else trying to, the RVs and everything else that comes in there. So they all park across the spots across by Laconia Road there in front of Uno's.
so to answer your question, I think, honestly, I don't know, 30% chance it changes, maybe a little more. It's hard to say. If I lay it out and it works, there's a 100% chance that, if it works and it looks great, then why wouldn't we?
Well, we've got the two things, move it back, which doesn't really
Didn't work,
sound
yeah.
That's
like
fine.
it's gonna happen, so let's forget about that. And then there's the left-hand thing, which I think is probably 30%.
But still a chance.
So should we build that into our approval that he, when he does the numbers, you know, that he doesn't have to come back?
See if it makes sense to approve it, but they still have to design it.
I think we have one of two, we can either approve it, or we can continue it, and let him research it. I mean, to me, those are the two options. And if we continue it, then he's going to go back and rehash what he's already done, from what I gather, from what you're saying. You've already examined every possible scenario. But you're gonna go back again and re-examine every scenario, and come back and say yes or no. And if you say yes, you'll show us what you've designed. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I looked specifically at channelizing this left, but we've thrown a lot of thought into laying this out, so.
Somebody wanna put that in the form of a motion, one or the other? We'll vote, and then we can,
If you wanna,
I have a strange other question. Where are the bike racks going?
Bike racks are located right here, next to the Starbucks, and the fence for the Starbucks continues along this curve and then continues to the building, so the bikes aren't going to be hopping over through this drive-through area, and everyone comes up the ramp.
Wait, so the bicyclists are going through the drive-through area too?
No,
no.
The
So-
fence, they're in
The-
Sunday.
But where the pedestrians
He's
are
like,
coming
wait a
in.
minute.
There's a fence,
Well, he said hop in the fence, I'm like, what?
So
there's
they
a fence
can't
here
hop
that
the-
prevents the bikes from
I got you.
going into the
from
drive-through area.
hopping.
I got you.
The bikes have to utilize the same as all the pedestrians, so they're not gonna be, rolling out in front of you as you're leaving the drive-through.
Sorry. I just misheard. I misheard you, sorry.
Now, was this site picked because it had access to the out and in throughout the whole parking lot, this particular area?
I think the area was picked specifically because there's good visibility off of the roadway, which is a driver
So they
for,
can see stuff.
right, and when you come into the mall, this current Starbucks, like I said earlier, is way in the corner. So if you put this building somewhere else, fewer people that are coming in here anyway to shop are
Well,
gonna
there's
go out
gonna be
that
more
way.
congestion if you put it anywhere else too, because you've got drive-in.
That's also true, is that all of this is good parking for this row of buildings.
Yeah.
All of this is good parking for this row of buildings. All of this is good parking for this row of buildings. So really, the only viable locations are here or directly behind the Old Navy, which, you just can't put a building directly behind another one, and financially would never work. So you're really limited in where you can put it without negatively impacting somebody else.
If you build
That
it, they
makes
won't
sense.
come.
Only 5 guys, not Starbucks.
You know where Julie's gone?
Islands, I've never been to one,
I heard their burgers are good.
Yeah.
Well, let's, we can, we just, now, can we do that again, because think about something else?
Well, if you're gonna make the motion to, we have to make
What do we-
one of
what
two
do we
motions,
do?
and we'll vote
One
on
is-
whichever one we make, and if it,
Okay, so
that
what are
passes.
our options here?
our options to continue it,
Continue it flat, okay, or,
to give him an opportunity to go back
right,
and revisit what he's already visited,
correct,
and see if that is if that is a viable option
yeah, or just do
for
it.
the business,
Mm,
or we can approve it with conditions of
um,
the fire, letter from the fire,
yeah,
Tilton Northville Fire, and what others.
comply with Tilton signage.
Aqueduct.
Comply with Tilton signing.
Signage, sorry to interrupt the deliberations, but signage is going to be through the tenants coming in later. So the plans are to provide a location for signage, but the actual location for the signage is on those sort of sign placards, I guess, whatever you would call them, and then again, on the sides. But the actual signage applications are by tenant. So, the,
Can't really,
That'll go to Al, right?
Yeah.
yeah, so we
We just still have more signage for in, out, stop, all that.
is that
Roadway
necessary
signage?
that we put that in our conditions?
No, we never have.
Yeah, either way, you say.
Yeah, it's kind of random.
We have lighting?
And we, well, nobody objected to the lighting, it's LED.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I
just
think, yeah,
standard.
you moved it over
Right,
there.
that's more-
Okay, so we can approve it with the conditions of Tilton Northfield.
I do have one
Plan.
other thing, and Judy has already brought it up. That's where snow storage used to be. What are the plans for snow storage once that building's there?
Actually, they don't snow storage, they snow storage
They
more to the
truck it.
right. They're more to the right, and then they truck it away, and then they truck it behind, it's also behind where he said, oh, you can't put a building back there. They put it there, they don't tend to put it there because a lot of people park there for
Okay.
windows.
Okay,
There,
all right,
That much.
so I guess that's it.
And then you guys talked about sewer.
Just notifying them,
Oh, okay.
and you said they had,
Yeah, okay.
okay?
Is that get their approvals? No, so just the two things.
Yeah,
And what is it with the aqueduct?
just notifying.
Notify the,
Or we can't just notify, so we have to have the approval. and,
Yeah.
notify and approve by sewer?
Yeah.
So,
So one of the conditions won't be the safety, that'll be disappear.
Just a, maybe just a thought, about, you know what, never mind. Sorry. Never mind.
What?
Forgot what I was gonna say.
All right, you want to put that in front of
Well, which one we,
well, whichever one you choose to do,
oh, me
and we'll
personally?
vote.
Okay,
And if it passes, then we'll continue, and if it doesn't, we'll,
okay, I vote
Make
to
the other motion.
approve with conditions. I make a motion to approve with conditions. Planning board 16-09 site plan approval, site plan review, with the following conditions. A letter from Tilton Northfield Fire District approving the
Access.
plan and access, and a letter from Tilton Water, Tilton Sewer notifying and to notify Tilton Sewer and get approval. Yeah, aqueduct. Those two
all right?
conditions. Was that
Great.
clear?
She
No, those
combined
are
sewer and aqueduct.
I know.
Sounds like
Forget
she
that one.
combined sewer and aqueduct.
Somebody rephrase that, see
So-
what they want.
What I gathered, you basically, three conditions, pending approval of the fire department, pending approval of the sewer department, and pending approval of the water department.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's part of that.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
No, nobody seconded.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Is there a second? I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Any discussion, any more discussion?
I still think they need to look at the safety.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Was it 3 opposed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, I'll make a motion to continue it. Planning board case
16-09.
16-09 until October 11th,
Yeah.
okay?
Second.
Well, wait, we have to tell him what he has to do.
No.
If you go back and look at the alternative of going out around the building and out,
Sure.
okay?
Anything else while we're here? Might be the time.
That's the only thing that's holding it up.
Well, I just wouldn't want to come back and then say, oh, wait a minute.
No,
Well,
that's-
maybe,
Other
um,
thing.
I appreciate that.
is there, like, do you wanna say what you're expecting as far as an analysis, or should we leave it up to his professional sort of techniques and?
Eric?
I don't know, feasibility of making reconstructing this junction.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess the drive-through exit.
Sure.
You know,
So that's a continuation. Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll
Opposed?
abstain.
I abstain. 2 abstains. No, what is that Catherine does, not abstain, she
Refuse.
Declines to vote.
declined. I declined to vote.
Okay.
Are you abstaining, declining?
I don't think that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. We have no correspondence.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw it all out there.
I have
It's 2 weeks.
As you already know.
What?
It's nice at that time of year. Bring a camera, take some pictures.
Take some pictures of what?
I understand.
For what it is.
Yeah, I can-
And
Yeah.
anything new that comes through.
If you wanna give me a call.
15.
I'll worry about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just think,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
One thing I'd like to do is I'd like to ask everybody on the board to go out to that area, drive around and look at what's gonna happen if they come around to the back. And
yeah, that's a good idea. Take the thing.
that's my,
Send your card.
what?
Yes, the replacement.
Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I didn't mention this, but I was like, wouldn't it be awesome if they just made a triangular building right there?
That's what I originally thought it was going.
Yeah, it would be great.
That's why there's a lot in this spot.
Because, I mean, this is probably not enough area here. But they could, maybe.
I'm not thinking.
Thanks.
No, I didn't.
Bye, guys.
I've never heard anybody say.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Okay, one of the things, Dari has quite a bit of, I hope it's not quite a bit, but you have some things to bring up. One of the things I asked Dari to do, before the meeting, is get a list monthly from our code enforcement officer as to what he's looked at and what his decisions are. And my reason for asking for that is that a lot of times I will call Dari and say, did you know that blah, 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 and then he'll call you and say, oh, Al already knows about that. I mean, I think there's or he's already done something, or he's already gone and talked with somebody about it. And we have no way of knowing that, and I think sometimes we miss things because we're not communicated. So it would be helpful, I think, to us if we knew on a monthly basis what Al goes and addresses so that we can see that. And I'm just talking things that would impact us, not whether he goes on a health call with Catherine.
Don't wanna know that.
No, we don't wanna know that. Okay?
Yep.
All right, and then you have some other things.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Land use books, can I just get, do all of you want one?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so,
Get Judy too, because she's got them from
all right.
the year.
I recycle it.
Mhm. All right, so I get, New Hampshire Municipal Association, the lectures, it looks like a really good group of lectures this year. October 15th is a Saturday, that instead of doing them, well, they did have them at nights, they're ongoing in September, but they're all really far away. I'm gonna go to this Saturday one from 9 to 4:30, so if you guys wanna go, let me know.
That's number one.
What's, all three of them, they're doing all three of them
Oh.
in one day.
And what's the date?
It says right there, October 15th.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They are doing
What's
some.
wrong with
Don't
15th?
twist it nuts.
Saturday for me.
Oh, is that,
It's actually the 17th, but.
is that like 6 months?
Yeah,
for April
that's
15th?
it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
done.
Oh, jeez.
They are doing.
You must
one
hate
of
the
these.
number 15.
Yeah.
Okay. So please let me know if you want to go to that. They're awesome. They're really good. Great lecturers, great topics.
Try to find out why they aren't closer to us anymore.
Okay.
They used to have them at
Those
night
are
up in
the
Meredith, and
monkeys.
they were great.
I saw this
Isn't
thing.
it quicker to get to
and
Concord than that?
Well, but
they
they're
are
not having them
holding
in
some
our
of
area.
these. No, they are, but they're not all in one day. Aren't they?
Well, no,
Derek?
they used to not be all in one
They
day.
used
I
to,
saw the
right.
flyer.
They
It
do.
was
They
like-
have, but they're like dairy.
There's
Link.
one in Concord, I think.
That's this.
Oh, okay.
That's this one.
All right. Oh, that's close.
That's why this
No,
is the
no,
one.
but there are others at various times that they used to have, you knew what I meant, right?
Yeah, they used to have them right in Meredith. That was
Yeah,
really
and
nice.
you just drive up at night.
Oh, okay.
They don't have any. They no longer have them like right in the lakes. It seems like the Lakes region never has a location anymore. So is it Juliet and Jane, I think, secretary and Cher, please stick around after to sign the Dembitsky subdivision plan. Congratulations.
No.
The Bitsky.
Barbudos, we've already talked about.
saying that.
We need another planning board member, we need a whole nother ZBA, that's going along pretty well right now, actually.
I was gonna ask
How
you
many people do you have?
I don't know, we know we've got at least one really good one,
Okay.
but, we still would be nice to have 7 planning board members and at least 2 alternates, so, please keep looking, keeping an eye out, we got a flurry of people.
I talked to, there was a soil scientist
Yes,
that, I have his number, I'm gonna call him and see if he would be interested. I think that would be
That'd be
good.
Yeah.
wait, is he with, is he on Concom?
No, he's not
Oh,
on anything.
okay.
He's not, I've already talked with his friend about it, and his friend said that he was concerned that if he came on one of our boards, that he wouldn't get business from the Tilton
Oh.
area.
Yeah.
And Dari and I were talking earlier, he probably would get more, and all he would have to do, if it was one of his, is recuse himself when he,
Yeah, it's true. Or maybe just
Yeah,
don't
that'd
do
be
it.
good.
and we don't have that many that involve needing a soil scientist. I can
Yeah,
only
just
think
rare
of
don't
maybe
wanna do it.
3 that we've had.
What do you mean, you did take a wanted ad out?
What's?
Okay, so,
Yeah.
Wanted ad.
I guess,
Craigslist.
Well,
let's
but
see.
what, how about at voting?
Is that what you do?
Have signs up at voting outside?
Yeah, that was actually, I went to the voting this year in March, and Joyce and I were thinking that we might be able to try and get some people there, but
It's gonna be
nobody
very
knew
busy
me,
in
so
that.
nobody talked to me, so I just sat.
No, just
And what
signs
happened?
outside, not
I
you
just
sitting
sat there, I
there.
didn't get a chance to talk
Signs
to anyone.
outside.
I talked to
Yeah.
you.
In the
right.
foyer.
That's true. And I guess that's it. We've got a busy meeting October 11th, but as soon as we get through this next batch of cases, it's going to be full speed ahead on the accessory dwelling units and quickly having a discussion about what else we think we might be able to tackle this year, but certainly ADU, accessory dwelling units, and then, we talked to recent, seems like it's been a while since we met, but again, that whole site plan review, change of use, hawkers and peddlers, all those concepts, I'm trying to work on updating our site plan review in a way that ties all that stuff in, so I'll keep working on that, that's all I got, thank you.
One thing, there
We
is
appreciate
one,
you, Darren.
Oh,
one,
thank you.
one thing on Tuesday, is it Tuesday, next Tuesday,
Yeah.
there's the landlord tenant,
Yeah,
and it might be of everybody's
Would it
benefit to go to it, I've looked at it, I think it's, I won't say what I think,
okay.
I think it's
It's-
Well, I think you and I
Well,
agree on
anyways,
what it
well,
is, yeah.
You've looked
Yes.
at the draft?
Oh,
It's, okay.
Is that
Um,
from our
That's
housing?
from the board, right?
Well, I would love to hear what you guys think of it. It would, yeah, it's the Housing
Judy and I
Standards
think
Board.
the same.
Well, if you want to come talk, if you don't want to talk about it in public, but you'd be willing to share your thoughts with me, I would really appreciate it.
Go on off record.
But, so it's,
Overcome.
you know, this board that started with a 30-page ordinance has, you know, sort of responded to, I think, the community needs and certainly, you know, anyway, developed basically what's now a 3-page housing standards ordinance that, you know, took a really wordy, very technically heavy ordinance and simplified it and took advantage of the fact that most of the things that an inspector looks for are already covered under existing programs. And so basically the ordinance, rather than saying you gotta look at this, and this, although there is some of that, it's not completely without technical details. It largely says, you know, this is the authority, this is how the program's gonna work, and these professionals, the health officer, code enforcement officer, and safety inspector are going to sort of use their programs, use the rules and regulations that exist within their programs and apply them to this housing standards program, which does apply only to rental units, I should say. It's rental units. But yeah, first public hearing is next week at 6:30, and certainly as many, you know, whoever wants to come is more than invited.
Is the draft online?
It will be tomorrow. It's on my list of things to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody who's interested to come, and public hearing is when you have a chance to bitch.
Right.
So, can you say anything about what you think about it? I'm just curious now.
I
Since you're
think it's weighted,
planning board.
I think it's slanted in one direction instead of
Pretend.
the other.
Yeah.
No,
I just went through landlord tenant court today, so, yeah, but in
No.
Manchester.
this is my own personal opinion.
Yeah. And it's,
towards-
Right.
And I suspect that's because there were so many
Mhm.
local landlords on the
On the
board.
board.
Well,
It wasn't-
I mean, certainly I will say with confidence that the document reflects the work of the group. So I guess, given that there are many landlords on it, that, you know, maybe it shows a slight,
What are tenants on it too?
sure, there are tenants on it, and again, come to the hearing. I don't want.
Come to the.
Yeah,
Come to
well,
the hearing.
Doesn't
Bring
it
the
already have a
public.
new title too?
Yeah, chairman of the Housing Standards Board.
No, town planner?
Town planner, yes, I'm now the town planner as opposed to the land use coordinator, so.
Just a
See,
different title.
that's
Same
why I have
thing.
more gray hairs.
No, not at all.
What?
He said same pay, I said, no, not at all.
New title, same pay.
I had to trade, I had to give up a few bucks an hour in order to get the title. Just kidding, just kidding.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you.
Oh, turn off the.
Fair enough.